The predator, we still cannot figure out. I've been dying to watch this. I want to know what he's talking about. Is that a seal?
Yes.
Plenty of people are terrified
The predator is a seal? Okay.
of the ocean, and arguably no other animal embodies thalassophobia more than the predator time seemingly left behind. Most people will never see one alive, yet they remain one of the most nightmarish and uncanny.
Oh, it's not a seal. Is it a seal? No, it's not a seal.
But also complicated and least understood apex predators on the planet. In fact, the first time you ever heard of a leopard seal, it was probably giving Happy Feet hell. Or the pebble and the penguin, in which case, make sure those doctor appointments are booked. You're getting up there. Or maybe...
Okay, maybe I'm dumb. I never heard of a leopard seal before.
Maybe Arctic.
It was... If you or a loved one was a victim of that jump scare, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Not for me, though. The penguin paralysis demon is incredibly feared for an animal we don't know that much about. Hey, what's a sea leopard's favorite fast food? Popeyes. But there's a whole nother side to the assault sausage. One that just might bring you to tears if you watch long enough.
Why does he have like a Chad face? Right?
Because he's a Chad.
He has like the whole Chad chin and everything.
This video isn't to make you fear or hold hate, but understand and even appreciate the alpha seal, not for just what it is, but how and why, and all I ask is that y'all hear me out. But there is no why as to why people find leopard seals optically disturbing. Few other animals pass the eye test for being that terrifying. The leopard seal looks like a mammalian mosasaur, a prehistoric predator with a perma-smirk. And if you think I'm exaggerating, you haven't seen or better yet heard what happens when one hauls out near humans.
What happened?
Run.
What?
What was that?
What is that sound?
It's crazy, right?
Oh, that's creepy.
So he is a Chad animal.
Hear it in your chest. Another thing is, people often suffer from a lack of scale with sea animals. They don't know how huge tuna are, how big dolphins get, and that leopard seals
Hold up.
with sea animals. They don't know how huge tuna are, how big dolphins get, and that
Did that dolphin just jump into the ship?
Yep.
By the way, I'm not surprised by the tuna size. I actually knew tuna fish get big.
Yeah, they're big.
leopard seals can grow to 12 feet long and weigh over 1,200 pounds. Trust me, there's a worse picture than this down the line. Chances are, you've never looked a leopard seal in the mouth, because then you'd have to be surgically removed from your therapist's couch. Those teeth are built like that for a reason we'll get into soon, but this internal mugshot may be coming to a beach near you. Abolish any idea that an air-breathing barracuda is confined to Antarctica, as they've been found as far as Antarctica, New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, the What the Falklands, and more. There's at least one.
So, are the numbers just not high for them or something?
They might be endangered.
Maybe, because I don't know how I went my whole life without hearing about leopard seal.
One leopard seal aware of platypus, and that's insane to me. So is the idea that this apex pinniped could be pulling up to a pier by you. That would raise the hairs on Caillou. And even with many roles as the op to a penguin protagonist, people have spoken on the horror of sea leopards for centuries. Going back to the early 1900s, explorer Ernest Shackleton wrote about an Antarctica expedition where at one point, one of his men was chased across the ice by an aggressive, believed to be 12-foot leopard seal. The man thought he was in the clear when the massive seal dove back into the water, but then the sea leopard tracked him by following his shadow under the ice and ambushing and nearly snatching him at the next gap in the ice. And Thomas Ordley's likely would have been a statistic if one of the crew hadn't shot the seal before it could reach him.
Wait, so do leopard seals eat humans too?
They're carnivores. That's it.
Oh.
In 1985, explorer Gareth Wood was walking across a thin ice layer when a Jurassic jump scare broke out of the ice, clamping its jaws on his leg and nearly dragging him into the water.
Oh,
and he was only saved by his mates kicking at the seal's head with boot crampons. And that's what separates sea leopards from a lot of other predators. The vast majority of sharks will ignore you, but whether out of curiosity or something else, leopard seals will boldly swim right into your space. It's the closest you can get to an encounter with a murder mermaid. It was right there. Most times,
yeah, it was right there.
they genuinely seem curious and like they're investigating your presence. But other times, they do the kind of things that led to researchers
When I was a kid, I kept on mistaking like seals and walruses.
No, that's understandable.
Huh.
equipping inflatable boats with protective guards because of how often a 12-foot vibe check.
Yeah, but walruses have like those tusks and they're like a lot fatter.
Mhm.
bite through it. You only get away with that as an apex predator, and present tense plesiosaur is absolutely
That's his domain now. That is the domain expansion. That's his vacation house now.
Yes.
apex. They will eat anything. Those freakish teeth are actually for catching krill, and having trident-shaped teeth helps filter them out of the water. Krill that could be nearly 50% of their diet. Of course, the leopard seal's list has much more on it, including often other seals like fur seals, and even their closest cousin, the crab eater. Obviously, they'll
What?
eat fish, and in New Zealand, that can include sharks. Leopard seals
They eat sharks?
also grieve
They're built
squid.
different.
One was caught with a sea snake, and there's even one case of a leopard seal attempting to take out a minke whale. Even the ocean's top predator, the orca, rarely resorts to hunting an aquatic velociraptor, because this is not the average seal. But if you know this seal, you know the most famous victims of leopard seals are penguins. Even though penguins aren't even the biggest part of
Oh my god. Oh my god.
their
No.
diet, leopard seals are a lot
It's like a recreation of freaking Jurassic Park.
It was like, nope, 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 nope.
more calculated than most think, and will camp themselves right at the ice's edge where they know is the penguin's entry point, which pretty much makes them a mammalian crocodile.
Oh, no.
With penguins, they'll either ambush them from below, or with a top speed of 25 miles per hour, they'll get into a police chase with an unlucky penguin.
Oh
the leopard
my
seal
God.
abuses this matchup so bad that not only
Look
will they
at that
surplus
little shit. Look. Did you see?
unlucky penguin, the leopard
Yep.
seal abuses this matchup
He's like, what is this? Recreation of Jaws, the Penguin edition?
Yeah.
so bad that not only will they surplus skill and murk more penguins than they eat, they'll eventually make a game out of it.
Whoever said Circle of Life, this is not Circle of Life. This is just freaking Jigsaw.
Leopard seals have
No,
been seen
it's-
chasing down
It's just killing for sport.
Exactly.
Humans do it too.
Which is dumb.
penguins into exhaustion and seemingly toying with the bird. They'll traumatize the penguin within an inch of its life and then just shove off. Like it was a sick joke. But it's when
What
leopard
the
seals aren't
hell?
playing that things get R-rated, and it all goes back to those teeth. Those teeth could
No.
maul the grizzlies and gives them a demon's headshot, but they lack the shearing teeth carnivores need to slice prey, and that's why you see them body birds by slamming and suplexing them against the water. A leopard seal will thrash a penguin until it genuinely gets degloved, and the penguin skinned and flayed every possible way gets eaten. So with all that,
No.
Stevie Wonder could see how the king seal of the South got its bad rep, but wild sea leopards do have one thing that not even killer whales do, and that's a human body. There's only one case in recorded human history of a leopard seal killing
They're worse than dolphins? Kinda, actually.
Yeah.
a person, but it's also one of the most brutal animal attack stories I've ever shared on this channel, so for obvious reasons, viewer discretion is advised. Kirsty Brown
Boy.
Oh no.
was a 28-year-old marine biologist for the British Antarctic Survey, and on
Okay.
July 22, 2003, she and a buddy were snorkeling near Rothera Research Station. They were studying the impact of iceberg scouring on the environment when the leopard seal studying Kirsty violently made an impact on her. At this point,
No.
nobody had ever lost their life to a sea leopard, but there
No.
were documented instances of aggression, and as a rule, nobody was allowed in the water if a leopard seal was spotted. The problem was, no one saw this leopard seal until Kirsty screamed and disappeared,
Oh, he was
Ooh.
hunting her?
only to
Yeah.
resurface with her head in the seal's jaws.
Oh my god.
From there, the
Holy.
normally sized seal would drag her deep underwater, release her long enough to just almost resurface, just to grab and drown her again, all while mauling her with bone-crushing bites.
He was literally toying with her? Oh,
Yep.
I don't like them.
Eventually, Kirsty and the seal disappeared, and the last time her dive buddy saw her alive, she was 20 feet underwater, desperately fighting to break free, while the apex seal held her by a fin. Eventually, the seal resurfaced, over a half-mile from where they were last seen, and after bashing the predator in the head with a shovel, the rescue crew fended the seal off and finally pulled Kirsty into the boat. Tragically, as you can tell, despite several
Oh,
CPR
no.
attempts, Kirsty Brown would be pronounced dead right there. Kirsty's body was recovered with over 40 bite wounds, and her dive computer revealed something arguably worse. During the 10 minutes of hell, the leopard seal had dragged Kirsty to a maximum depth of 70 meters. That's
No.
230 feet. But personally, the
Dude.
most disturbing part was Kirsty was already an exceptionally small human at 5'1", 120 pounds, and
Oh my god. This is just keeps getting worse and worse.
Eyewitnesses said
Yeah.
this was an exceptionally massive seal, estimated to have been 4.5 meters, that's nearly 15 feet long, and well over 1,300 pounds. Which I genuinely don't want to believe, even if it was based off the seal's size relative to the boat. Because not only would that mean a 5-foot woman was mauled by one of the largest leopard seals ever seen, but this is what that size disparity
Holy hell. That is terrifying.
Yeah, holy crap, guys.
Whoever was saying earlier, oh, another sea puppy, do you still think that? Holy.
would have looked like. There's no f***ing way. And since no one ever asked the leopard seal why, the most popular theory is that her size, black dry suit, and fins caused the colossal carnivore to clock Kirsty as a penguin or fur seal. And in all her struggling, flailing, and failing to get away, all Kirsty managed was to act like prey. Which sounds wild victim blaming, and I swear I'm not. There's a reason there's no jokes in this section. This was genuinely one of the worst animal-related deaths I've read about. Imagine being mauled by a bear, but also while being waterboarded. In fact, let's get even more descriptive. Kirsty Brown spent the last 10 minutes of her life fighting an animal nearly triple her length and 10 times her weight.
Holy,
While
that is terrifying. I'm sorry, but that's really terrifying.
severely mauled to the head and being brought tortuously close to the surface before being pulled again over 200 feet into a freezing abyss.
Like, he was literally toying with her for like 10 minutes.
Not only could the violent pressure changes cause a burst eardrum or even an embolism, her compromised wetsuit would have introduced Antarctic ice-chilled water directly to her skin. In the most respectful way, I really hope she blacked out or went into shock, because that is a nightmare final destination couldn't dream of. Kirsty Brown would have an island posthumously named after her, and her death led to more safety measures and protocols being implemented.
Oh my god.
But there was another consequence of her horrific demise. The much more strict regulations now meant many of the biologists trying to learn more about the seals were now forbidden from entering the water to study
No, man, fuck those seals, like, actually. Like, these specific ones. Holy hell.
them. Something many like dive guide Kelvin Murray would call an overreaction. Suddenly an animal we barely knew much about was now basically impossible to learn more about. It was a lot like the stingray. Stingrays are rarely aggressive, and less than 5 people in human history have lost their life to one in Australia. But because one of them was Steve Irwin, we had an entire generation ready to punch out an aquatic place.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. It's like the second you put a face to it, you are more prone to actually like heavily dislike something. That is a fair point.
Even though the circumstances of his death were insanely bad luck, and Khaki Jesus would have passed twice if he saw the stingray hate. Only one person has ever died to a sea leopard. It's just that the attack was so brutal that, and the pro-penguin media meant, a blubber assault weapon got demonized to hell. To be fair, with the things I said they'll do to penguins, other seals, and even humans, how could you not call this Ice Cube mammalian missile crisis a sea demon? I wouldn't blame you for being afraid, but at least give the other side of the leopard seal a chance. I was not lying when I said a pool full of sharks will ignore you, but a leopard seal will get right up in your face and conduct an investigation in your personal space.
Wait, so a leopard seal is more aggressive than a shark?
Yes.
Huh.
Because it gets close to you.
Okay. I'm like curious about how many leopard seals are there. All right, the global leopard seal population is estimated to be between 220,000 and 440,000 individuals. However, exact numbers are difficult to pinpoint because these solitary, elusive apex predators inhabit vast. Okay, so it is hard for like the scientists to even pinpoint how many there are. They're that elusive. But basically, split the difference. It's about like 330,000. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Holy.
Kirsty might have been a tragic exception because aggressive or predatory encounters with humans normally happened at the ice's edge, aka the leopard seal's favorite ambush spot. But almost every time a leopard seal has approached a human already in the water, they're doing it from a place of curiosity. That is really weird for a predator. Like, for all their bad PR, bears usually avoid people. And an experiment found that even the top predators in Africa hightail it whenever they hear human. But a giga seal will study us the same way we do them. That's weird.
Yeah, that is
Even
weird.
weirder. In 2006, photographer Paul Nicklin took a trip to Antarctica to hopefully find the steroid seal. Funny
Like they're studying us, but we're not able to study them.
thing is, leopard seals are hard to find. They're hard for you to find. To them, you're easy. It wasn't long until Paul had a giant females are bigger by the way, leopard seal
Okay.
circling his zodiac, and it was at this moment he ignored every primitive instinct and ancestral alarm and got in the water and braced himself. The seal with a head bigger than a grizzly bear's made a beeline towards Paul, and right when Paul feared the worst and held up his camera as a feeble defense, the she leopard stopped and just sized him up. Science says if you're able to stay calm and hold your ground, a leopard seal will go from possibly aggressive to curious, and she even got close enough to study her reflection in his camera. It's like her internal monologue was saying, wait, you're not afraid. Why aren't you afraid? What are you? Then she got bored and swam away. But
That's very interesting behavior, actually.
Yeah.
then came back with a live penguin, which she released in front of Paul. Obviously, Paul didn't take the offer, so the predator got another penguin.
That is such curious behavior. What?
That's very different from most animals would do,
She,
especially predator animals.
yeah, she started bringing him food.
And then another one. And for the next 4 days, the same species that had mauled a woman to death would now be waiting to greet Paul whenever he entered the water in
Oh Lord, did she think he was another seal? I don't think so.
an attempt to feed him. I want y'all to really understand what was happening here. This she leopard was going out and tiring penguins and bringing them to Paul. And when Paul didn't eat, she'd bring increasingly lower HP penguins. She'd bring beat up, barely alive penguins, half-eaten penguins. At one point, Paul had 5 past tense penguins floating around his head. Paul would even swear that the leopard seal seemed genuinely disappointed with his lack of effort. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can only think of one other time you had a wild predator straight up offering food to a person, and it was killer whales. And at least orcas have a history of hunting alongside people. We're not talking about a trained animal or one habituated to humans. We're talking about a wild predator going out of its way to provide for a person. That's not normal. Seals are the mermaids of bears. Imagine a polar bear door dashing your dinner.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. That's so weird.
That's not even the only thing leopard seals and orcas have in common. Leopard seals are much smarter than the penguin media wants you to believe. Leopard seal handling manuals go out of their way to say they're smart enough to be trained, but intelligent enough to be stubborn, and they're prone to pout and act difficult like children. At the same time, they also say that ignoring a difficult seal is a pretty solid way to get them to cooperate. Leopard seals aren't just highly intelligent, they're deeply emotional creatures too. Nora was a leopard seal that made news because it was the first time scientists watched a modern-day mosasaur mourn. Nora had a pup that tragically passed away, and in grieving, Nora would stay with her lost child for over 20 days. Nora didn't just watch over her child, she'd move the body across the ice, carried it in her jaws, and even got aggressive whenever people would get too close to them.
Yeah, that's not common in animals, actually.
That's like on elephant levels.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even be the only
Like not as like on the elephant level because they're very socialized creatures.
Mhm.
The leopard seal seems to like be solitude.
Mm-hmm.
time is in
Also,
2021, 23, aggressive whenever people would get too close to them. It wouldn't even be the only time, as in 2021, 23, and 24, scientists documented the same mother doing the same thing with 3 different pups, which is a different kind of tragic. And again, the last
That is tragic.
Yeah.
time I can remember hearing something like this, it was when Orca J35, or Telequa, also grieved the death of her calf and couldn't let go. That's the problem with sea leopards being so understudied, because then you miss stuff like this. And that's not even mentioning arguably the most interesting thing about them. Leopard seals sing. Males will sing these beautifully haunting songs, and females in heat will respond with a song of their own. And if you haven't seen it, it's like an underwater opera or ballet from an animal that looks like a dinosaur. It's not just beautiful. Scientists actually studying these seal songs found that these songs are sequenced and structured a lot like human nursery rhymes. This guy. I really feel like leopard seals would have way better PR if they could actually survive in zoos.
I wonder how that sounds. Is there like a copyright free thing we can actually hear? Because I thought he would have showed it, right?
Right.
Hold on. Leopard seals mating singing. Let's see. Oh, it's like purring.
Yeah, we heard that.
Yeah, I didn't know that's what it was. It's literally like purring. It's like literally purring. Like, bro, what?
They're one of those animals that just don't work in captivity. They're like the great white sharks of mammals. Few leopard seals have ever been held in zoos, and the most famous case was in Sydney's Taronga. You know what I think about at night sometimes? Sometimes I think about Casey. Casey was a male leopard seal believed to be the only male ever kept in captivity. He was found as a pup, abandoned on a beach in Guatemala, injured, emaciated, and with shark bites. Casey was brought to Taronga for treatment in 2007, where
That's a big pup.
Yeah.
he joined female Brooke, who was rescued in 1999, and another female, Sabine, who got there a month before Casey. Now, I can already read the anti-zoo comments, so it's important to say that these seals could never be released back into the wild out of fear that if any of them were harboring any possible diseases, it'd wreck the already fragile wild population. So Taronga kept them to look after, and
Well, there's also animals who cannot be returned back to population because they're genuinely like they cannot fend for themselves anymore.
Yeah.
even possibly used as ambassadors. Because again, leopard seals can always use the PR. And as Casey matured, there was a hope that he could help breed the first ever leopard seal in captivity. But since Brooke died of an illness not long after Casey showed up, it'd have to be him and Sabine. There was just one big problem. Male leopard seals sing for females, and as a seal found as a pup, Casey never learned his song. Taronga staff would play the recordings of adult leopard seal songs in hopes that Casey would find his. They even played saxophone for him.
Well.
They play the sexy sack for him.
I'm not exactly sure why, but Casey wasn't above it. He genuinely seemed interested, so if he likes it, I love it. Tragically, Sabine would also be lost to an illness before Casey had the chance to court her. And as Casey finally did learn his song,
Wait, it's like 2 leopard seals back to back because of sickness. Why? Are they like does it have something to do with the ones they found, or it's like leopard seals are not able to live in captivity?
Could be the water, the filter water or something.
he also died in 2014 after struggling with a prolonged sickness and
Yeah,
mercifully being euthanized. That's how Casey's story ended. The last captive leopard seal ever. So at this point, I think you can see that leopard
That's I'm like confused. Like I'm like, huh? How? What's going on there?
seals are so much more than a penguin plot device. They've been
He's
lambasted
drooling.
and typed
He's drooling. Oh,
for as
he
long as we've known
is.
about them and demonized to hell. And you might ask,
Look at this chat.
is that not what I was doing in the first half of this video? And honestly, I've been wanting to talk about that for a while. Skip to here if you don't want to hear the yap, but the biggest criticism I hear about myself is that I demonize animals, I spread misinformation to demonize them, and even that I've
I never heard him demonize animals.
Yeah, I've never really heard that.
Huh, that's so weird.
had a direct consequence on the conservation of those animals, and not a positive one. And honestly, whenever I would see that about myself, I get I'm not gonna lie, I get defensive and kind of hurt because I feel like I'm
No, that's understandable. When you like you're so into animals and you're not demonizing, but you want to provide all the information. Like that would be like, bro, what do you mean?
Yeah.
If you want information, I'll give you information, but don't expect me to like glorify and talk only about the positives.
He's talking facts here.
Yeah.
always saying you can't moral scale an animal, that you can't judge or you can't put a morality microscope on a wild animal. A zebra that has to weave crocs, cats, and a predatory laugh track don't give 2 stripes about being a good person. And then I feel like I try to make the separation between, you know, these are the facts that I find interesting, and this is the casual comedic characterization of those animals. But yeah, some corners of Twitter do not like me, especially with the dolphin thing, and I don't even
Why? Dolphins are gnarly and horrible.
have Twitter. I really just wish more people actually watch this video all the way through, or at least at the 940 mark, because I feel like I touch on a lot of the things folks criticize me for. Also, just to defend myself a little bit, I will take accountability, but the whole internet dolphin hate thread was a thing long before me. That didn't start with me. Some of y'all are giving me way too much power by saying I single-handedly did that. I've always said that the facts, as far as I'm concerned, are true, and if they're not and I get something wrong, I feel like over the years I've shown that I have no problem coming out and correcting it. At the same time, if I call something like a Walter Weinstein or a C. Cosby, that doesn't mean I actually like you gotta know that I don't actually think dolphins should be persecuted to the full extent of the law. But I can understand the other side. Because like imagine you're a scientist or a marine biologist, and every time you log online you see people saying dolphins are evil, dolphins deserve to die, all dolphins are rapists, and for every like
You see, I wouldn't go that far. That
Yo.
is crazy.
10 people that say that, maybe 3 or 4 link one of my videos. Replay that interaction enough times, and of course, eventually you would just think, oh yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, fear-mongering mother. So that's why the last couple of years, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I've tried to be more careful with the way I frame these videos. I'm still gonna
Bruh, I'm sorry, but people like morale policing his videos just because he's trying to provide facts is just so stupid.
Facts are facts. They don't care about
Yeah.
your feelings.
To get my jokes off, that's just how I talk. I'm pretty sure I call this an Ice Cube missile crisis, but that's why I've been wanting to say this.
Like literally, like when we listen to him talk about like the tragic that happened with the leopard seal. Yeah, like
Hmm.
that's literally what I was saying. Like, yes, that's gonna be like the first instinct, right? When you put a face to it.
Yeah.
But then after that, everyone moved on.
People who are normal, they're like, wow, that's some horrible shit the one
Exactly.
seal have done.
Specifically in this video, I've always been fascinated by leopard seals, especially the aspects that make them dangerous. In fact, whenever I'm emphasizing how dangerous an animal is, it's
I'm sorry, but the fact that this is how it's hunting is fucking hilarious.
coming from a place
Boop,
of
boop,
admiration.
boop,
At the
boop.
same time, they already get demonized crazy, so you do have to be careful with how you walk that line. Ultimately, I think there's a middle ground where you can be entertaining enough to be an entry point for people to be interested
Is
in
he
zoology,
yawning while scratching
also
himself?
being fair to the animal. And I
Yep.
think it's also fair to ask for a little bit of grace whenever I'm calling something like a
Is that how their fur is like layered?
It's what do you call it? Hydrodynamic.
What
threat
the
to humanity.
The
hell?
water
I'll say it again.
the water slicks off the fur.
Yeah, but like the way it looks there is like two different furs.
Bedhead.
Again, dolphins, chimps, hippos, otters, sea leopards, and all others aren't evil. They're just animals trying to make it to the next day without the human privilege of morality. But that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water.
Okay, to be fair, leopard seals, they're also doing that just for the sake of the game too, not just to eat.
Otters do that
Hmm.
as well.
There's a lot of animals that do that.
Yeah, so it's not like they're the first one that's done it.
Yeah.
Hell, we're animals and we do it too. So I feel like we have no right to judge.
Hug your mother. Don't
Because
touch
at the-
seals. And
It's the vegans. It's the
I'm gonna see
vegans
y'all
acting like that.
in the next one.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Casey.
Oh, he's feeling it.
Oh yeah.
That was a good video. Honestly, I feel like I learned a lot this video. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it very much.